A girl with disheveled hair lies on the ground, surrounded by giant praying mantises, and asks to be killed. A girl with dark hair and blood on her face lies on the ground and asks to just kill her. The red-haired woman urges Heng-chan to think while he gestures in a red suit, and the others stand around watching. A guy in a red jacket convinces a girl with dark hair that they need to clear out a hidden dungeon and not tell anyone about it. He says with dismay that hunters are paid minimum wage for clearing the dungeon, expressing dissatisfaction with the pay. The guy in the white shirt suggested that we figure it out ourselves, standing in a circle with 4 others who were listening attentively to him. She anxiously suggests not to enter, carefully squeezing his hand, and he looks at her carefully. He warns her that it could be dangerous and calls her by name. He grabbed her by the shoulders and asked when they would have a chance like this again, and she looked at him with concern. Choi asks with a manic half-smile if she needs to be humiliated in front of the team. With her arms across her chest and a sword visible behind her back, she clasps her hands to her chest and tries to explain, saying that she is afraid that the bugs will appear again, like last time. He smiles, puts his hand on Choi's shoulder, and reminds her of how everyone suffered because of her fear of monsters. Heng-chan says with a grin that if it's that hard, they can just leave, because they don't need a low-ranking tank. The girl with the sword on her back smiles maniacally and says no, sweating slightly and clutching something to her chest. She says with a manic half-smile that the right choice has been made and that we need to trust her, and in response we hear agreement. A guy with red hair smiles and puts his hands on the shoulders of a girl with dark hair and says that he is her boyfriend and cares about her. She thanks Heng-chan with a manic half-smile, saying the words with barely noticeable tension. He suggests moving on, and she, with a sword behind her back, agrees, reminding him that he should go first. Choi stands with a sword and shield. In front of him is Heng-chan, who says, "Oh, okay," with concern. And around them are 3 more men with weapons, watching carefully. A girl with a shield walks forward, followed by a guy in a red tracksuit, a girl with blue hair, a guy in a gray sweater, and a man in a white shirt. 2 men cautiously enter a dark room, surrounded by many strange robots with red eyes that are directed at them. The guy in the red jacket screams in horror, not understanding why there are so many enemies around. The devil orders an attack, and Heng-chan yells at him to take care of himself as the 2 quickly fight the enemies. He assures Choi that they will take care of everything, and that she should hold the line, and she reluctantly agrees. She fiercely repels the attack of a huge monster. Trying to hold on despite the effort and stress, she focuses on deflecting the powerful attack, choosing to endure the blow so that the others can safely destroy the monsters. She screams at them not to panic, and deflects the blow with a magical shield that sparkles and crackles from the force of the attack. 2 men with swords in their hands turn to face the advancing enemies, one of them panicking and saying that there are too many of them. She desperately defends herself with her shield from the attack of many red-eyed creatures. Feeling great pain and fatigue, she screams for help, asking Heng-chan to heal her, and admits that she can't take it anymore. Choi, with a manic half-smile and wide eyes, screams, accusing someone of running away and leaving her behind. A panicked guy screams a name and scolds someone for not holding the line, expressing despair and anger. A girl in a torn shirt runs up to a guy standing at an open door and calls him to wait. The guy in the white shirt tries to leave, and the girl with dark blue hair grabs him and screams that Choi is still inside. She furiously knocks on the door and screams, begging Heng-chan to open it. Choi stands with his hands raised, a sword visible behind his back, and shouts that everyone will die, despite objections about the girl. A girl in a torn shirt retreats in fear, surrounded by huge black claws that make a piercing squeak. She turns around sharply, with a manic half-smile and scarlet eyes, thinking that now is not the time to behave like this. The girl runs forward resolutely, mentally asserting that she must survive at any cost. A huge hand with long claws appears from the fog, causing the character to wonder in surprise what it is. A close-up is shown of someone holding a ring with a blue stone in their hand, accompanied by the question, "Ring?" Choi is surprised to find a glowing, hidden object on his body and tries to get it out. She stands with her back to the viewer, looking at the glowing screen, and suddenly notices something that causes her great surprise. A girl with a sword on her back, with a maniacal smile, clasps her hands to her chest while the words, "affects the wearer's life," appear above her. She raises her hand with a manic smile and scarlet eyes, as if greeting or checking something, while a sword is visible behind her back. She stands in front of a strange plant and exclaims that she doesn't know how to use it. The girl falls backwards, covering her face with her hand, while huge, creepy creatures with red eyes loom in front of her. A girl with scarlet eyes is trying to call for help in panic. Her face is illuminated by light, Red round objects are visible around her. Choi lies on the ground, surrounded by many giant praying mantises that step on her and inflict wounds. She whispers with tears and blood on her face that it hurts and asks him to stop. The guy lies on the ground in a pool of blood, screaming in pain and horror, with ominous shadows looming around him. She is breathing heavily, sitting on the ground with her clothes torn and a manic half-smile on her face. Choi, covered in blood and wounds, looks at her hand in shock and asks if it has come back to life. She stands in front of 3 huge praying mantises that loom over her menacingly and lets out a frightened cry. A girl in tattered clothes is surrounded and attacked by giant praying mantises, one of which presses itself against her face, causing her to scream. The girl, covered in dirt and wounds, rises from the ground with difficulty and begs for help, saying that she has returned again and does not want to die. A girl with long, dark hair falls backwards, screaming in pain as red flashes explode around her. Panicked man screams for his leg and begs to stop eating him as terrifying creature with huge teeth continues attack. She screams, begging Heng-chan to save her, her voice full of despair and fear. She steps back in horror as she looks at the huge, monstrous monster with sharp claws and a huge red eye looming over her. A series of messages appear on the screen stating, "Death is impossible until hatching is complete," and sound effects emphasize their repetition and importance. Giant praying mantises with bloodshot eyes surround and attack a man lying on the ground, trying to figure out how long he's been there. A girl with disheveled dark hair lies on the ground in torn clothes, surrounded by green light, contemplating the time of her death. With blood on her shirt and disheveled hair, she thinks in horror about her fate, wondering if she will forever become food for these creatures. There is a sword lying on the ground, and someone asks in surprise if it is his weapon. Choi lies under a giant insect. A sword glows next to her, and she remembers that Haikang-chan gave it to her for her birthday. A girl with disheveled hair and a manic half-smile says she refused to go inside, but was pushed anyway for some hidden item. 4 huge praying mantises with red eyes hang above, and an indignant cry is heard from below. A girl with long dark hair violently fights off 2 huge insect-like creatures attacking her from above. She clutches the sword and asks in confusion what is happening, looking at the glowing blade. She stands with her sword, screaming, and prepares to attack the approaching giant praying mantises. The devil deals the finishing blow to the monster, who falls with a broken eye and blood. A girl with a sword plunges her blade into a giant insect that spews pink blood, and the monster falls, defeated. She clutches her sword and holds her stomach. A green healing glow glows around her, and the words "healing wounds" appear on top. The girl with the sword grips the hilt tightly, realizing how to use the item correctly. Choi stands with a sword, addressing a group of enemies with a threat to kill each of them. The guy, with an expression of determination and tension, says that he will get out of here, addressing Heng-chan as his boyfriend. She stands with a sword in her hands, addressing the advancing creatures with red eyes, and threatening to destroy them all. The guy says with a panicked expression that he can get out of here, addressing Heng-chan as his boyfriend. The girl with scarlet eyes breathes heavily, turning to face the huge insect, which growls and looms over her menacingly. She screams furiously towards her opponent, preparing to attack as the battlefield and blood fly around her. She clutches her stomach, saying something went right through her, and groans in pain. Choi, sword in hand, advances on a group of giant praying mantises who emit shrill screams as they prepare to attack. She challenges her enemies with a maniacal smile, surrounded by green light. A girl with a sword stands facing the advancing giant insects with red eyes that make piercing sounds. She sneers with a maniacal smile and scarlet eyes, asking if he's too afraid to fight back. 2 praying mantises with bright red eyes let out a piercing scream as they move forward rapidly. She delivers a powerful blow with a maniacal smile, feeling the thrill of her power and spilling blood. A girl with a sword and blood on her knees in front of the advancing insects screams about the desire to kill even more. The girl stands in the middle of a destroyed battlefield with the remains of creatures. Smoke rises around. A message appears on the screen about the completion of the dungeon and the calculation of rewards. The devil says with a mocking grin that it has been too long. At the door, a question is heard with reproach about how they could lock Hyun Choi inside and close the door. A guy in a hood screams, accusing another of constantly bossing a girl around and now simply abandoning her. The guy in the white shirt says doubtfully that everyone would be dead by now if someone had stayed, and asks why they are making claims against him. A guy in a red jacket makes excuses by raising his hands, while another one with purple hair is angry, and a third one with red hair stands nearby, and a girl with a bun watches from afar. A girl with short red hair and black clothes mockingly says that they both feel pain because they are only low C ranks. The girl in the hood screams that she is tired and leaves, turning to two men who look at her with surprise and tension. The guy in red warns that he will tell about everything that was done, and the other one reacts to this in shock. A boy with brown hair stands with his back turned, and a girl with dark hair in a hood with an angry expression asks, "What if they leave him behind?" A guy in a panic asks if someone with a C rank can really escape a B rank dungeon alone. Brown-haired guy trying to convince dark-haired girl to leave quietly by holding her shoulders while she holds back tension. She greets someone with bloodstains on her clothes and a manic smile, saying, "Long time no see." Two men look at a girl running out of a dark passage, and one of them says her name in surprise. Han-chan reacts to the phrase he heard with fear and disbelief, trying to understand its meaning. He hugs her tightly, amazed by her liveliness, and exclaims with relief. He sadly apologizes for not being able to save the other and continues speaking. She cuddles up to him and says that she had no choice and did it for everyone. The devil smirks as he tells Heng-chan that he understands him, and Heng-chan stands in front of him with blood on his shirt. The guy thanks the girl in blood, smiling and slightly leaning towards her, and she stands silently, not answering. He notices that her clothes are all bloody and torn, and carefully takes her by the shoulders. They show a belly without a single scratch, accompanied by a question about its absence. He looks ahead with anxiety, feeling that something is going wrong. The guy in the red jacket thanks Choi for her understanding and is glad she came back alive, while another man stands nearby watching. The dark-haired guy smiles and says that now they can overthrow the boss together again. The girl with dark hair laughs and asks if they really waited for her until they won. The guy thanks her, and the girl with dark hair stands in front of him. He thoughtfully asks himself if he is being paranoid. A guy in red happily hugs a girl with purple hair, saying he couldn't leave her, while a man in a white shirt stands nearby watching. A huge black beast with red eyes appears before them, a C-class boss monster called Dire Knuckle. He sat down by the tree and ordered everyone to get ready, while the others listened to him attentively. The guy in red says that Choi should distract the enemy, and the others will strike at the right moment. He agrees. He orders her to keep her attention on him, and she confirms that she understands by gripping the hilt of her sword. He peeks around the corner and confidently says that we need to stick to the plan. The guy in red is screaming, trying to stop the girl, and the other one is calling her name with a frightened expression. A huge creature with horns and scales lets out a loud cry, raising its head to the sky. A guy in a red jacket and another in a white shirt are panicking and discussing how she is attracting too much aggression and asking if she has gone crazy. The guy yells at him to hide behind the girl, and he quickly runs towards her as the man in red with a spear quickly approaches. The guy in red with the stick insists it's just a B-rank boss, while the two running behind him look worried. The brown-haired guy shouts that everything will be fine if Choi survives the front. A girl with long dark hair falls down, stretching out her arm, and next to her, a leg is visible, pushing off the ground. The guy is lying on the ground, his eyes wide open and his mouth open, as if he had just fallen, and is screaming in panic. The guy in red and Heng-chan look up in surprise and alarm as the girl leaps into the sky, and he exclaims that she ran away. A guy in a red sports jacket with a bat in his hand gets angry and talks about the girl's evasion. She, with blood on her clothes, smiles and mockingly says that it must have hurt. She says with a manic half-smile that she was so scared that she accidentally dodged. She quickly jumps on the huge demon with red eyes, while the guy in red falls next to them. He falls to the ground, screaming in panic and despair, demanding an explanation from Choi about what she is doing. A girl with long dark hair and torn clothes sits astride a winged creature, smiling maniacally as she asks what she thinks she's doing. He yells at the girl to stop fooling around and get off, while two others watch her from the ground nearby. She looks down with a manic half-smile and asks if they are joking with her. A guy screams as he is impaled by a huge bloody spike and asks if this is really just a joke. A girl with a bloody shirt grabs another man by the hair, saying, "All right then." She says with a maniacal smile that she will see who can last the longest. He asks anxiously what they should do now, looking away. The guy says he'll heal from behind. The girl replies that she'll focus on defense, and he adds that he'll also help with basic attacks. The guy with red hair panics and says he has never faced a boss monster face to face. He screams in despair, warning that if we don't act now, everyone will die. A guy in a white shirt shouts that he is the leader here and orders everyone to obey, while a girl with red hair and another young man in a dark hoodie look at him. He clasps his head with his hand and firmly says that he will support and asks to hold the position. The devil sits on a huge deer with red eyes and assures the others that they can get out of here alive, while Ha-Seung-chan and Choi prepare for action. She looks ahead and asks if everyone has finished speaking, then suggests starting over. A guy creates a magic shield, a girl with 2 swords in a fighting stance, and another girl stands behind, preparing to attack. A girl rides a huge monster with red eyes and horns, demonstrating control over the creature. He shouts, "Stop!" with a panicked expression, trying to stop what is happening. A boy with pink hair screams while waving his sword in rage and despair. Choi stands on the back of a huge horned creature and wonders about its strength. The screen displays the characteristics of the item or ability, Deer Knuckle, A, with indicators of strength, intelligence, endurance, and agility. She sits with a sword on her back, blood on her shirt, surprised to notice that the rank is higher than expected. A instead of C. A message about the buff status and blessing appears on the screen, and someone asks in surprise if he is under someone's blessing. Choi presses his fingers thoughtfully to his chin, pondering the parasitic ring and its possible connection to the secret item. He says with determination that the current problem must be dealt with first. He looks ahead carefully and thinks that she is easily controlling something, having received a hidden item from a secret dungeon. A guy stands facing a huge black creature with red eyes, on which sits a girl with a sword behind her back, thinking about her change. He stands on the street with his head down and says he made someone understand. He hangs his head and says in despair that everything he did was wrong. She accuses him of not understanding the reason for her anger, and he responds with surprise by asking, "What?" She looks ahead and says there is only one thing. A guy with short brown hair sits on the ground and smiles, and asks if he can tell what it is. Agreeing to the offer, a girl with scarlet eyes and a manic half-smile declares that the problem is in the very existence of the interlocutor. A bloody footprint hits the ground sharply, sending blood splattering around. She lies on the floor, laughing with her mouth wide open and her eyes closed, with blood on her clothes and body. A dark-haired girl runs away from a tall, hoofed creature, and he notices that she is still alive. A girl in a dark sweatshirt, trembling and with a frightened expression, tries to say something, pronouncing the name Nara. Choi, with a sword on his back, asks the frightened boy if he wants to live, to which he panics and begs to be left alive. A guy in a white shirt yells at another guy, demanding that he let her go because she hasn't come out yet. The girl with the sword warns the other to listen carefully, to which she sheepishly agrees. She tells him with a maniacal smile that he was spared only for trying to stop the door from closing, while he looks at her with fear. She walks next to him, holding the sword behind her back, and says that there is something else. He answers in surprise. The hand grips the hilt of the sword, accompanying the threat with words about the consequences for the wrong words. The girl with the sword and blood smiles maniacally and asks if the interlocutor understands her. The dark-haired guy in the hoodie confirms something with a subdued yes. The girl with the sword supports the guy, saying that they are now in the same boat, and he confirms this with panic, walking together to the cave. The devil threatens betrayal, and the interlocutor agrees in panic, after which he orders to move on. A man from the dungeon management team asks worriedly about others, while 2 colleagues stand behind him in a dimly lit room. A girl covered in blood calmly walks past 3 men, one of whom notices with surprise that they are all dead. 3 men in uniform discuss the sudden rise in rank of the main monster and the failure to defend against it. A girl with long dark hair stands with her back turned and laughs, covering her mouth with her hand. 3 men are standing in a room. One of them points to a girl with blood on her shoulder, claiming that she is now crying, and the girl is silent, looking away. The guy in the dark hoodie explains that they are almost out of gas, so they will leave the Manistans and move forward, ending the conversation. He asks in surprise about the 3 dead B ranks and the 2 returning C ranks, while the other 2 stand nearby. She calls out the names of Choi and Hang-chan, who are standing nearby. He looks scared, she looks calm. Uncle Anna strictly demands an explanation of everything that happened there, without missing a single detail. He looks at the 3 standing in front of him in surprise, and asks if this really happened in a Class C dungeon. Uncle Anna, with a serious look, demands a detailed explanation of what happened. He screams in rage, not understanding why Knuckles' rank increase is so important. Choi seriously chides Hyang-chan, accusing him of failing to support the dealers, who sheepishly crosses his arms over his chest. A girl with disheveled dark hair yawns widely, covering her mouth with her hand. The guy panics and asks why she is so calm after killing everyone, and warns that they will go to jail if they find out about what happened. Uncle Anna anxiously rubs his head and complains about Heng-chan's death and the problems with the company. She reproachfully asks him about money for luxury, and he denies it in a panic. Uncle Anna, in a dark jacket, talks about an expensive suit and car that someone arrived in. She complains tiredly about the low pay adding that the guild leader is too busy spending money. Uncle Anna turns with a tense expression to the three men in identical uniforms standing behind him, watching silently. He panics and asks why Choi is suddenly acting like this. She stands behind Heng-chan silently, while he comments on her unusual calmness. She warns with a manic half-smile that they will take responsibility, and he screams back in panic, not believing what he heard. Uncle Anna orders to immediately find a dungeon for tomorrow, and Heng-chan panics and protests that this is wrong. He yells at Heng-chan, accusing him of being ungrateful for losing the hunter. Someone in formal shoes walks quickly down the corridor, thinking about the problems with the guild and the lack of hunters. Uncle Anna, with a stern expression, says that someone has to die in place of the other person's boyfriend. The man in the suit scratches his head thoughtfully, thinking about the possibilities of using the C-class girl. A purple-haired girl delivers a powerful kick to a man in a suit, who screams in pain and is thrown back. The girl with the disheveled hair laughs, claiming that she did everything right, and the man on the floor screams in pain. A girl with long dark hair stands over a man lying on the ground who is screaming, and she roughly orders him to stop complaining. She offers to go underground with a maniacal smile if there is not enough money and hunters, and claims that the interlocutor is afraid of this. The guy lies on the floor in a panic and screams, accusing the girl of being crazy and revealing her true face after Hyunchan leaves. A girl with long dark hair leans forward, laughing and comparing someone to Uncle Anna. She says with a manic smile that she doesn't like the story of the interlocutor's family, and that she had a good laugh. She says with a manic smile that she doesn't like the interlocutor's family history, and that she had a good laugh. She says with a maniacal smile that she is crazy, and he, in despair, reminds her of the death of her nephew instead of her. He screams in panic and confusion, trying to understand what was said. She speaks sharply and confidently, with a manic half-smile, looking straight ahead. Uncle Anna stands up and declares his withdrawal from the guild, while Heng-chan falls to his knees and panics as he tries to stop him. She leaned over to the man and told him he should have done the right thing while he had the chance. Uncle Anna, bent over from the blow, asks mockingly if the other man wants to get another blow. He fell to his knees, shocked, looking at the fallen bill in front of him. There is a 5,001 bill on the table, accompanied by a note stating that the money is for Haiseng-chan's funeral. Uncle Anna asks with a tense expression to take care of Heng-chan on his last journey, then makes a painful sound. The girl yawns and says she's tired, and the guy next to her thanks her for everything that happened up to this point. The image shows two dialogue clouds asking about the guild leader's safety and the answer that he will be fine and will not explode. She smiles and asks if the other person is interested in rock bands. A guy with blue hair squats by a closet, while a girl with long dark hair stands next to him and talks about buying clothes. She calmly says that Heng-chan didn't like it. The guy with dark blue hair panics and says that he is now dead. Looking away, she asks with a joyful and excited expression, confirming the death of someone. A girl with long dark hair joyfully screams that she killed someone, jumping up and down on her bed, while a guy with blue hair looks at her with concern. The dark-haired guy looks around in fear, thinking about the crazy girl and his fear of her actions. He sits on the floor and asks why she came to his house, because she has her own place, and she lies on the bed listening to him. She lies on the bed, smiling and asking to stay close while another man looks down on her. She smiles and says that she lived with Uncle Ann, so she doesn't want to go back there. The blue-haired boy says, "Oh?" in confusion, and thinks he's afraid he'll die if he refuses. A girl with long dark hair hugs a stuffed animal and agrees that it won't last long, and the other person thanks her. The guy says that he left the guild with Choi and asks what they are going to do now. She smiles and asks if the other person has any thoughts about guilds, while hugging a stuffed animal. He asks about living expenses, and she, sitting on the bed with a pillow, replies that she has 20 million won in her account and she can handle it. The dark blue-haired guy asks in surprise why the other only has 20 million won, and mentions that Uncle Ann supposedly paid for the rent and expenses. She asks in surprise, confirming that he only paid a deposit and the rest was split. The dark blue-haired guy tiredly covers his face with his hand and asks irritably if they are joking with him like this. The guy stops abruptly and says to himself, "Wait a minute," touching his head with an expression of sudden realization. Someone is wondering why she doesn't have any plan, and if this continues, she will end up living with him forever. A guy asks a girl sitting on a bed with a pillow about her plans for the future, wondering if she is going to look for a house or a job. She says thoughtfully that she doesn't want to do anything right now. She declares with a cold gleam in her eyes that she has already achieved everything she wanted. A guy with blue hair asks a girl with long dark hair if she achieved what she wanted, silently looking at her. She smiles, hugging a stuffed animal, and says that she was going to find and kill him, and someone below exclaims that he always knew it. Blue-haired guy thanking someone for mercy, smiling with closed eyes against dark gradient background. A girl with long dark hair laughs while hugging a stuffed animal and saying that her interlocutor's reaction is very funny. She suddenly asked him if he was hungry, and he replied that yes, he was hungry. There is a suitcase and clothes hanging in the room. Blinds are visible from the window, and the dialogues discuss hunger and possible dishes for food. She says thoughtfully that she doesn't know anything else, and that Heng-chan didn't let her eat because he was afraid she would get fat. He screams in panic. What? His eyes wide in shock. A girl with purple hair screams, accusing someone of madness and deserved death, against the backdrop of a blazing fire. The guy on the bed asks why the other guy is suddenly angry, and the other guy responds that anyone could get angry. Girl hugs stuffed animal and smiles, saying no one has ever been mad at her before. A guy with blue hair reads a message on his phone and says that passersby will think someone is crazy, but he will take control of everything and suggests just eating and sleeping. Night. Against the sky, one can hear remarks about not understanding the situation and the offer to eat pig's feet. Without visible characters, a girl with dark blue hair sleeps, clutching her hand, her face calm and relaxed. The girl is lying on the bed, thoughtfully looking at the ceiling, and the guy is sleeping next to her on the floor, covered with a blanket. She lies on the bed and thoughtfully remembers things that haven't occurred to her for a long time. They show a foot. Next to it is a thought about not wanting to go underground anymore. She lies there thinking that she doesn't want to be part of any guild and just wants to rest. Girl with closed eyes thinks about living quietly, doing odd jobs. She is breathing heavily, sitting on the bed, and he is lying next to her, also out of breath after a stressful event. A girl with long dark hair presses her hands to her stomach, feeling a sharp pain, and thinks about the strange feeling in her stomach. The girl sits on the bed, pressing her hand to her stomach and feeling strange sensations inside. A girl with long, dark hair and scarlet eyes thoughtfully touches her face, thinking about the reason for something. Someone carefully holds the glowing object, deciding it's best to put it away for now. A girl with long, dark hair stands with her back turned, and in front of her there is a sign about the obligatory wearing of a parasitic ring. A girl with long dark hair carefully studies a holographic screen and thinks about the possibility of removing the attached object. She rips the ring off her finger with manic determination, declaring that she doesn't care and will just take it off. She jumped up suddenly, screaming as if trying to avoid something sudden and dangerous. A girl with dark hair, sitting, looks at her stomach with surprise and anxiety, asking herself, what is happening to it? The guy clutches his stomach with both hands and asks in surprise if it is really possible to remove the ring from his finger. The image shows a ring with a blue stone and text explaining its effect. It affects the wearer's life, restores it, and makes death impossible until hatching is complete. The girl with scarlet eyes looks thoughtfully at the glowing screen and thinks about the message she saw earlier in the dungeon. A man screams in pain as a giant snake-like creature with sharp teeth and a protruding tongue bursts out of his body. The girl sits on the bed, clenching her hand into a fist, and thinks that something saved her life, but raises doubts. Choi looks closely at the ring on his finger and is determined to take it off. The girl is sitting on the bed and thinking that first she needs to figure out what kind of object she has, and the guy is lying next to her thinking that the official way is impossible. The guy lies in bed and thinks that if information about the item becomes known, he will have to go the illegal route. A taxi is driving along the highway, and inside two people are talking. One asks why they suddenly went to the hospital in the morning. The other replies that he just had a stomach ache. She sits in the passenger seat of the car and says that she just wants to live with him. Girl with dark blue hair in a white t-shirt in a car screaming in horror wearing a seatbelt. A girl with dark hair argues with a guy with blue hair in a car, insisting on paying the rent, and he categorically refuses. Girl with long dark blue hair smiling and offering to move to a bigger house while sitting in car. A guy with dark blue hair asks in surprise about moving to a bigger house. She looks at him calmly as he screams and refuses in panic, expressing despair and doubt. A tense dialogue is heard in a taxi, where one threatens death, and the other, in a panic, refuses to live with him. She says she will leave when she saves enough money and doesn't want to go to An Hyun-chan's house. He agrees, and she suggests pooling the money. But then comes a resounding no. A girl with blue hair in a car asks her interlocutor how he plans to make money after leaving the guild, and he replies that he will take a part-time job. The girl with a manic smile starts talking, suggesting a dogfight option. The guy in the car is screaming in panic asking why someone is going there. She smiles confidently and promises to make money, urging people to bet on her. A guy in red shorts delivers a powerful punch to his opponent in a fighting cage. In the ring, the judge raises the winner's hand while the loser lies on the floor, and text about battles among awakened C rank and below appears on the screen. The guy with blue hair in the car asks in surprise if the other guy is hiding his rank, calling it a scam. She states with a cold smile that her hunting license confirms a C rank. The neighbor, sitting in the car next to Heng Chang, says that a little deception will not make the situation worse, and smiles at him. A young man with blue hair and bright eyes smiles and raises his index finger, talking about increasing chances and a solid payout. She smiles with a manic glint in her eyes, tilting her head slightly to the side. They stand outside a building where one asks if this is a dogfighting arena, and the other confirms. A girl with long dark hair tells a boy with short blue hair about a store her younger brother mentioned to her, and he asks in surprise if she has a brother. A girl with long dark hair confidently walks forward, while another one with short blue hair tries to stop her, expressing doubt. She says with a maniacal smile that she is looking for something, while Heng Chan and the neighbor watch from behind her. A guy in glasses carefully examines an object in his hands and asks what exactly the interlocutor is looking for. The image shows an ID card with Choi's photo and her basic information: name, date of birth, rank, profession, and attribute. Uncle Anna calmly advises the interlocutor not to take risks and simply join the guild. She says with a manic half-smile that she left the guild yesterday. Uncle Anna explains that C-rank hunters have an easier time finding work, and the girl with long hair replies that she's just taking a break and is tired of everything. He, adjusting his glasses, with a cold look, says that the interlocutor is simply spoiled and does not appreciate what he has. She asks him with a cold look if he killed someone, and he looks scared in response. The devil mockingly denies the accusations, turning to his sister, who remains silent, while the neighbor stands aside with a serious look. She leans forward on the table, her long, dark hair falling down. Choi, with a manic smile and his hands folded on the table, asks what it will take to let her in. She leaned on her hand and asked with a smile if they accepted the card. Uncle Anna, looking tired, warns that only cash is accepted, and paying by card will cost an additional 10% commission. An elderly woman sits at a table and points with her hand, explaining to two people standing in front of her where to go along the corridor. She asks if it's too expensive, and he replies that he'll make a lot of money anyway. In a packed arena, spectators raise their hands and shout, illuminating the ring, where two fighters and a referee prepare to begin the fight. Two men wearing boxing gloves sit and stand in the ring, discussing how the only thing that works is cash. The girl with purple hair sits on a chair and asks where the other one went, and if she brought anything. The guy in the cap notices that the girl has become serious, and the other is surprised when she managed to bring so much cash. A guy with purple hair and a white t-shirt screams in panic, asking what he did wrong and why they are looking at him like that. She says with a serious look that because of another man, she had to spend 1.1 million in the store, although he was silent at first. A girl with purple hair yells at another girl sitting next to her, demanding money, and the other girl calmly reminds her about the deposit fee. A girl and a boy argue, swearing and waving their arms, discussing a house that belongs to a landlord and a bank, and expressing despair over the lack of housing. A girl with purple hair, with her hand to her face, asks someone if he is new here. The devil asks with a grin if he can sit next to his interlocutor. He asks with a grin if he can sit next to her. She answers with a manic half-smile, allowing him to continue. The devil asks Choi with a smirk who she's betting on while she remains silent and looks ahead. A guy in gloves fights in a cage and asks about the desert. She announces with a manic smile that she is going to take part in the competition and asks who the other person is betting on. The devil says with a grin that you need to bet on the strong, and begins to give an example. A girl with scarlet eyes and long, dark hair asks calmly, hinting at someone who might be suitable. Choi thinks about the other person's rank with a cold gaze, and notices that he is not prone to stereotypes when talking about it out loud. The devil looks down with a grin. A holographic screen with unknown parameters appears next to him. She is surprised to realize that her observation skill did not work. The devil sits next to Choi and Hakyung Chan, stating his current rank is A. He asks with a mocking look what a high-ranking hunter is doing in such a place. The devil warns Choi about the tournament's rank limit, looking at her with a mocking look as she and Heng Chan listen intently. He says with a mocking squint that he won't be allowed inside without checking his hunting license. The devil asks Choi if she is a fake registrant, looking at her with a mocking expression. She warns with a cold look to focus on the match and not to interfere in other people's affairs. The devil looks closely at Choi and neighbor, who indignantly states that they have valid hunting licenses. He says the words mockingly, dismissing someone's doubts. She looks at him, and he reproachfully tells her to just drink and not get into fights with strangers. A girl with scarlet eyes screams in panic at a guy with blue hair, pointing at a smiling man with red hair next to them. The devil says with a grin, the girl is confused, and the guy screams in panic, arguing about the age of another person. Choi speaks with surprise and slight awkwardness about the thickness of his hair, and then laughter breaks out. The devil laughs at someone, and she asks in confusion what is happening. Choi asks anxiously if he used some special item. The devil laughs with his arms crossed, and then a caption appears asking about hiding someone's identity. Two fighters, in shorts and gloves, stand in a fighting stance, facing each other in a fighting cage. The screen shows a message about the start of the match, after which a girl with dark blue hair happily confirms the start of the game. The devil mockingly warns Uncle Anu to watch the match because of the bet, and he agrees with irritation. A girl with long dark hair calmly says that there are mostly low-ranking hunters here, while another girl nearby listens animatedly. The image shows a shirtless man with a bald head and gloves preparing for a fight in an arena. She asks with a smile who he thinks will win, and he enthusiastically replies that rank always wins. My neighbor happily explains why she gave it a D rank. I clench my fists and smile broadly. Two men in a fight exchange blows. One warns the other to change tactics while he has the chance. A guy falls to the ground after being hit, and a girl with dark blue hair screams at him to get up. The devil calmly predicts defeat, and Heng-chan panics and asks him not to say such ominous things. A guy with dark hair suddenly knocks another man down while saying that you shouldn't deny reality. The guy panics and asks what the two are talking about, claiming that he put 300 on someone and believes in a quick win. The devil stands with his hand raised in victory next to the referee, while Heng-chan lies unconscious in the ring. A guy screams in panic about his money, his body contorted with fear, and a long white creature with an open mouth bursts out of his mouth. A girl in shock screams about her lost money, which flies away with wings. The devil mockingly says that he should have been listened to, and Choi, kneeling in despair, screams, "No!" She laughs, covering her mouth with her hand, and says that the fight was very funny. The guy grabbed the girl by the shirt and screamed, accusing her of laughing and promising a D-rank victory. She clutches the fabric of her clothes and demands the money back, but is met with silence. The girl apologizes and admits that she lost control for a moment, and Choi calmly asks when she is going to fight and confirms the possibility of betting on her. She firmly declares that she has changed her mind, and he is shocked and cannot believe what he has heard. She responds coldly to the shouting, ignoring the request to help her win money, holding back her irritation and showing no sympathy. Someone ponders out loud about the illegality of the item and how hiding the identity speaks to the seriousness of the situation. The devil asks with a mocking grin if they are going to give up. Noticing the remnants of conscience in his interlocutor, she says with a maniacal smile that he owes her because she couldn't earn money because of him. The devil mockingly asks why he was chosen and advises not to waste a high rank in vain, but to join a guild for more income. He asks Choi with a smirk why she is here, and she replies that it is just a hobby. She looks closely and asks if any prohibited items were used. The devil, with a mocking expression, says that he pretended to be stupid because of the fraud and suggests that he go his own way. He smirks and demands access to the network from Choi, moving closer to him. She asks with a manic smile where her interlocutor got something from. The devil mockingly asks why they are trying to become a criminal, and in response hears a refusal to reveal the reasons. She looks away with a slight grin and says that the interlocutor is too tense. A group of people in dark clothing burst into the premises, shouting about illegal gambling, causing those present to retreat in panic. He, adjusting his hair, sighs and suggests to the other to leave to avoid problems with capture. The girl suddenly grabs the man by the wrist and asks where exactly he is going. The devil asks in bewilderment what the girl with dark hair is doing. Turning to her, she, with a maniacal smile, demands that they either take her to where they took it. The devil asks in surprise what is going on, and Choi begins to explain that he has two options. She, with a manic half-smile, demands to be taken to where something was received. The devil grabs Heng-chan, who screams back, and Heng-chan laughs and promises to never let him go. He mockingly orders to catch someone while a man in uniform points to the side, giving the order. The devil quickly runs forward, and the girl catches up with him, asking in surprise if it is possible to destroy the building, and he orders her to hurry and follow him. He turns to someone from behind, asking what he is going to do and whether he is trying to become a real criminal. She confidently runs forward and says that she is going to evaluate her item, and if it turns out to be useful, she will buy something else. The devil asks about rank, and the girl answers by offering to take a look as they run through the forest. He is walking through the forest with red hair, and a girl with dark hair is watching him, thinking about his speed and rank. The devil looks down, wondering about someone's true level, and his words reflect doubt about the S-rank title. She asked how far they were going, and he replied that they were already there. The devil mockingly says that the interlocutor is probably the only hunter who does not know him, and suggests moving on to a more informal conversation. Choi, with a manic half-smile, answers briefly, "Okay." The light flashed brightly in the dark tunnel, accompanied by the words, "Same age then," and "Nice to meet you." A group of people walk along a narrow passage inside a cave, marveling at the unusual place with benches and lighting. Uncle Anna shows Hengchang and the neighbor a collection of swords on the table, discussing who could have dug such caves. The devil approaches Choi, asking if hunters do this kind of work. He explains that people with a criminal background who become hunters or who commit crimes after waking up end up in such places. She asked how he knew so much. He replied that he used to be here often, after which she assumed that he was an ex-convict. She asks with a manic smile what to do now and suggests that the interlocutor can manage the guild. The devil says he's just affiliated with a guild, and Choi asks which one. Uncle Anna, holding the girl's hand, expresses doubt and says that he sees nothing. A man with thin fingers in a ring asks where the girl got this ring from. Choi extends her hand to Uncle Anya, explaining that she found a bound object in the dungeon that won't come off her finger. Uncle Anna explains that the item won't come off, so he came here to fix the problem. The devil asks if he can take something off, and the neighbor with dark blue hair replies that this is the first time she has encountered such a case. Uncle Anna asks permission to film something, and in response hears consent. The girl bends over sharply from a blow to the stomach, clasping her hands in front of her, feeling severe pain. A girl complains to a woman in a headscarf that it hurts to take something off, and this has been happening since last night. Uncle Anna, squinting thoughtfully, asks to name the object that he cannot evaluate. She says thoughtfully that the information is displayed as unknown and decides not to share it for now. An elderly woman in a headscarf refuses to value an item and says she will not take money for it. She calmly says, "I understand," looking away. She got up from the table and said that she was going to leave, and he looked at her attentively, without breaking his gaze. The image shows the description of the item, earrings, shadow earring, C-, which hide the characteristics of the wearer, but do not work on those who are 2 or more ranks higher. Choi says with a manic half-smile that even an S rank wouldn't be able to determine her rank. She looks closely at the decoration in the window and asks how much it costs. The neighbor points to the item and says it costs 300, and the girl doubts whether it is worth buying it, given her low rank. A girl with long dark hair confidently asks if the interlocutor takes the card, expressing determination. The devil asks if she can see his rank, and she replies no, walking next to him. He says that the remedy does not work on levels S+ and above, and the interlocutor doubts that he will encounter such an opponent. The devil mockingly asks Choi about the item that hides her rank while she listens intently. He watches the red-haired girl quickly interact with the market vendor, marveling at her speed and agility. A girl with long dark hair sits on the floor, thinking about finding another appraiser, but decides not to spread rumors to avoid problems. A girl in a black t-shirt sits with her arms around herself and reflects on the impossibility of leaving the situation without a solution. The image shows text that talks about being able to find a way out by returning to a hidden dungeon, and mentions that there are only 11 such dungeons around the world. The earth is shown in the background with various doors, one of which was discovered in Korea, and below 3 people are looking at a massive door. She talks thoughtfully about how dungeons don't disappear after you complete them, but reset, and the hidden dungeon she went to should have reset too. She looks forward with determination and promises to find something and return the ring to where it came from. The devil stands with his hands in his pockets, as Choi thoughtfully asks if he needs to join the guild again to enter the dungeons. The guy offers to pay 200 instead of 300. And the girl in the hat exclaims in anger in response. A guy in dark clothes angrily opens his wallet, accusing his interlocutor of greed and inability to properly value a thing, and suggests that he retire. Uncle Anna, leaning on the table, asks with a narrowed gaze if a new dungeon has just appeared. otherwise he could not know about the item. He hands over the money and asks if the other person has really just completed the dungeon. He addresses her by name, and she responds with surprise. The devil says with a mocking smile that he has a hobby: collecting objects. He asks her with a grin if she wants it, and she replies that he saw how it wouldn't come off. She listens with a cold gaze as someone assures her that there will always be a way, even if something doesn't work out. The devil, with a mocking grin, says that he could bite off the entire finger, holding his hand in front of him. She says with a manic half-smile that this is a disgusting hobby. A man with a ring on his finger talks about the strangeness of the lack of new dungeons and an unexpected item that he does not know about. He asks her with a smirk if she went to the hidden dungeon, and she looks at him with slight concern. She says with a manic half-smile that her interlocutor has perverted taste.